Changing the patterns of growth and development. And this is maybe one of the most, I tell you as a politician, we prefer the term elected official, by the way. This is one of the hardest things to do. Because if you think about the suburbs, they were other than cities. That's why initially people moved to suburbs. They didn't want urban living. They didn't really want the urban aspects of living, or at least many of them. And so to say to people, well, if you look outside and see what you got, this is what it produced. A lot of people like that lifestyle. We were very successful at creating jobs and in attracting people who would like this lifestyle. And we built a quality of life that's the envy of the United States with one exception: our congestion. And so are we willing to change patterns of growth and development as well as lifestyles to try to change that? And there is no alternative, it seems to me, other than to look at high-end mixed-use development around transit nodes. And we're, thank you. But I'll tell you, we just had an election yesterday on this issue. In a Democratic primary, and we had a higher turnout for a Board of Supervisors race in the Democratic primary than we had for the United States Senate race last year. Yeah. And the individual who favored TOD did prevail. But it was, a very hotly contested race, and the issue was a whole bunch of people who lived near the Vienna Metro who were mad as hornets that we would change the land use around the Vienna Metro. The current land use around the Vienna Metro, and I say around, at the Metro, 60 acres of land. And on it are two things: 65 50-year-old ramblers and a paved surface parking lot. Now, clearly from a very substantial minority point of view, that's just fine. But if we aren't willing politically to take some leadership and try to change minds about what we have to do with that kind of valuable land, and what we're changing is we're going to change that into 2,500 housing units, some retail, some mixed use, all of it transit-oriented development, including some senior, age-restricted housing as well to keep down on ancillary car trips. But I'm telling you, that's going to be one of the great battles. It's easy to say we're all for the environment. Are you going to be there when we have to make the tough decisions that back that up? Finally, transportation. We need, my view is, I don't know that we're ever going to solve congestion per se, but we can do something that we don't normally have in the suburbs, and that is create choices. For most of us still in a place like Fairfax, we're auto-dependent. Let me give you an example of that. Who's from Arlington? Aha. The true and the pure, ladies and gentlemen. Give them a hand, they're wonderful. Okay. Arlington is 26 square miles, they have 11 metro stations. What does that mean? That means that if I live or work in Arlington, there is a high probability I live and or work within walking distance of a metro station. Transformed Arlington. Transformed their traffic patterns, improved their congestion. Fairfax County, 400 square miles. 5 metro stations. What does that mean? That means there's almost no probability I live or work within walking distance of a metro station. You see the dilemma. We have to change that. And we also have to create other choices. Suburbs were created because we got in that car and went anywhere we wanted to go to get whatever we wanted to get. Well, so we didn't build sidewalks. Sidewalks in Fairfax County in the early years in the 70s, when the big boom, development boom occurred, we didn't require sidewalks. And we didn't require stormwater detention either, but different stuff. So we have to go back in and retrofit the infrastructure amongst existing development. Expensive, politically hard, difficult to do, we got to do it. So I came up with a transportation plan that says, okay, let's create choices. Telework, of course, significantly expand transit, which is why rail in the Dulles Corridor is so important. We're having a fight right now. We'd love it to be a tunnel, but there are some who are so strong on the advocacy, they say, well, if it can't be a tunnel, it should be nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, rail, if we lose rail in the Dulles Corridor, it is catastrophic for this region. Catastrophic. The second largest employment corridor in all of metropolitan Washington is the Dulles corridor. The number of passengers at Dulles Airport are going to double over the next 15 or 20 years, from 27 million to 55 million. The number of jobs in Fairfax County are going to grow between now and 2030 from 600,000 today, which is already incredible. We're now an economic magnet. It's going to grow to as many as 1.5 million. Where are we going to put those people? And how are they going to get to their places of work? We must have rail in the Dulles corridor. Thank you. We have to expand transit in other important corridors too, and I know I'm just taking a little bit of time, but just, you know, the BRAC process, which is the base realignment and closure process, from an environmental point of view up here, disastrous. What did they do? They closed all of the offices in Roslyn and Crystal City that are on metro stations and moved everybody to way in the wilds of Maryland and to Quantico and to Fort Belvoir, especially Fort Belvoir, not well served by transit and nowhere near metro stations. So we're going to have to try to make that work, which means transit has to be expanded in the Richmond Highway corridor to serve that. Two more things on transportation, and then I'll sit down. I also came up with something called a CBI, a Comprehensive Bicycle Initiative for Fairfax. We've hired a bicycle coordinator, and we're putting together our first comprehensive bicycle map for Fairfax County so people know where they can go. We're including bicycle lanes and striping in all of our road improvement projects. And I was also pleased last year in Fairfax County, we opened on my initiative, we created something called the Cross County Trail, which goes all the way from Lorton in the south to Great Falls in the north. It's a new 40-mile a trail for bicyclists, pedestrians, and others. Thank you for that, too. And that trail is now completed, and then we're also working on something called the Potomac Heritage Scenic Trail, and when we combine the two, we'll have a 100-mile loop in Fairfax County. Finally, we're also, the board committed, as part of this transportation initiative, doing it differently, a pedestrian initiative to build sidewalks and connections and to invest $60 million over the next 10 years to make sure that happens, so we also become a walkable.